Greetings. I'm sitting on a great big pile of sphagnum moss today. January 26th, 27th, I think. Can't remember. I got a bush here getting in my way. But it's time for another story. Going through my pictures and found some pictures from back in the 70s, and I looked at it and I thought, my gosh, that's going to be a great story. Something I had seen while hiking into the Olympic Mountains in Washington State. Something so strange I've never forgot about it or even believed that I saw it in the first place. It was probably the mid-70s, and I had spent a lot of time in the Olympic Mountains. And I photographed a lot of mountain goats, so I had been all over the place photographing mountain goats. Some of the photos got published. I'd go wintertime, anytime. And it was August, and I thought to myself, you know, over the years I'd taken a few people fishing up the Hamma Hamma River, and we went up into Mildred Lakes. I'd always look across and I'd see Mount Stone, and I'd see Mount Skokomish, and I'd see Mount Henderson. I thought, boy, that'd be a great place to go into. Plus, it's not easy to get there. Now, 90% of the people went up to Lena Lake or Upper Lena Lake. And that was about it, because that was a popular trail. But there was a small trail called the Putvin Trail that took off kind of between, well, it was where Whitehorse Creek came down between Mount Stone and Mount Skokomish. And the trail was made years and years ago by a prospector. Now, whether he found anything up there, and I never heard that whether it was any mines or anything. So I thought, well, I'll get up early in the morning and I'll take the Putvin Trail. And it's got a little parking spot off the Forest Service Road. And there'd just be a little wooden sign that said Putvin Trail. Well, it's what you used to call a way trail. Unmaintained. Once you start up through it, trees, you know, got to go over them or under them. Pretty rough country. And a way trail pretty much sometimes is just a scratch in the ground, kind of like following a deer trail or another animal somewhere. And, oh, I hear them up at the mill again. Or not the mill, but the quarry. Chopping rock. They're a long ways away, a couple miles. But sure, it's traveling today, sound. But anyway, I started up this trail, and it's rough. It's a way trail, and I go up through the timber in different areas, and the big game trails coming down. So you could easily get turned around and end up following a game trail for a ways. Have to turn around, backtrack, go back up on the main trail. You had a pretty good idea that it was going up the creek, around the bowl of the creek, and then up to a place called Lake of the Angels, which is an elevation of 5,000 feet and 4 miles away. Well, I'm starting out at about 1,500 feet, so we're looking at a 3,000 foot climb in about 4 miles. So it's steep. So as I'm going up the trail, different trees around, not white like this, but you know, there'd be hemlocks and cedars and Douglas fir and stuff you have down in Olympic Mountains. And I kept working along the creek, and then the trail took off kind of to the right a little bit and got into an area where there were a lot of rocky outcroppings. And I have to admit, I got turned around up there. I got lost the trail for a while and had to come back down, find it again, going on up. And as I started up into the bowl of Whitehorse Creek, opened up into the most beautiful meadow you ever seen. You know, I've seen the wildflowers thick but I've never seen them as thick as they were there. I mean, you had, you know, lupin and larkspur and paintbrush and all kinds of asters, and you had cow parsnip, you had columbine, you had everything you could think of in this little meadow. And the smell was so sweet walking through there. It was just like paradise. And the only thing you could hear, there was no wind. You know, all you could hear was the buzz of the little wild honeybees. Now, wild honeybees looks like a little tiny bumblebee. Doesn't look like your Italian bees. And at the time, there's still quite a few around, but I guess they're almost becoming extinct because the the tame bees are pushing them out of the area. We still have around here, some here in Sitka, and my wife's flowers, they visit the flowers in July and August. And they're really docile little bees, little wild bees. They've got, you actually go over them and pick them up. They won't sting you. It's probably one of the reasons why they don't survive very well with other bees. Anyway, butterflies flipping around, grouse walking around, looking around, nice big deer walking around, big 3 points in velvet, you know. Got a few good pictures. Left that area and started around the headwaters of the Whitehorse Creek and started up a little bit, and you come to well, I guess you call it a tarn. It's not a lake, and it's bigger than a muskeg pool. And it had a name, and I can't remember what the name of it was. But that's where the national park boundary was. I had come in from the Forest Service road and hiked up through, you know, Forest Service land. And now we're at the national park boundary. And where I was going was actually inside the Olympic National Park. So I left that little lake, and I knew that Lake of the Angels was just above me, maybe 400 or 500 feet. And, you know, there's a funny thing about the Olympics, and if you talk to people that hiked in them for years, you sometimes think you hear people talking. Well, I thought I heard somebody talking. Well, what it is the water in the creek and the lay of the land and ravines and stuff. Yeah, nobody's talking, but it in a way it sounds like you hear voices. Nothing, you know. I got a little bit farther and I hear something else. I hear music. And I hike up a little farther. I thought, oh my gosh. Oh, wait a minute. Nobody's down the trail. My car's the only one there. I saw no footprints coming up the trail. I hear somebody up there with a boombox. Okay, well, back in those of you in the 70s remember those big boom boxes. They weighed 10, 15 pounds. Now who in the hell would pack a boom box up that trail for 4 miles and 3,000 feet in elevation? This ain't right, man. And I can hear voices again. And I come up over the top where you can look down there at the Lake of the Angels, and the little meadows, and it's got a ridge running behind it there from Mount Skokomish, and off to the right, Mount Stone goes straight out. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I looked down there, and I thought, oh, can't be. There was a 6 or an 8-man 1960s vintage Coleman tent. Now those things are big and heavy and big, and they got the little porch thing that goes out, you know, with the hangs out. I thought, this is nuts. How'd they get this thing up here? Well, I go a little bit farther, and pretty soon I hear the voices, and 4 guys come out of the tent. They come over talking to me, you know. How you doing? Yeah. You coming up from the trail? Yeah. Well, what's the trail like? I said, real rough. And they said, yeah, we heard that. And I looked around. There's a Coleman stove. There's a foam cooler. Over here are boxes and boxes of food. I'm talking boxes of food. Dozens of eggs. There was another box over there, had dry ice in it, full of steaks, piles of beer. And over in the fire was all this garbage and old cans of beer they'd been there. And I said, "Dad, how long you guys been here?" And they said, "Well, it's a 5-day trip and this is our 4th day." And I looked around and I said, "Man, you guys got a lot of stuff." They said, "Yeah, we kind of overpacked." Then I asked the big question, "How in the hell did you get it here?" Well, it turns out that one of the guys, now remember, this is the 1970s. These guys are probably dead and gone now, okay? And I don't know who they are. I don't know how you would ever identify who they were. One of them identified himself as a helicopter pilot. Now, he didn't fly in. He had a friend, I presume military, because he said they flew out of McCord Air Force Base with a helicopter and made 2 trips. So they brought 2 trips with all that equipment, dropped all that stuff there in that little meadow area around Lake of the Angels. There's only one problem, that's National Park. How the heck did they pull that off, and how, I guess nobody knows they did it. Anyway, they had a big bonfire going, and they were burning lots of boxes and boxes of food and just junk. And I says, "You mean you guys are going to go out, walk out?" "Yeah, we got to walk out because somebody's going to drive up the Forest Service Road and pick us up." And I said, "Oh my God, how are you going to get all this stuff out of here?" And they said, "Well, looks like we're going to burn a lot of it." So I said, "Oh, okay." That's when they said, "Hey, why don't you come by tonight and have steaks for dinner?" And I says, "Okay." Yeah, sounds a lot better than that Mountain House freeze-dried Spanish rice, instant pudding, and some dried old pilot bread, huh? So anyway, I asked him, I said, "You guys see any mountain goats?" He said, "Yeah, there were goats everywhere when we got up here, all along this ridge and all over." He said they disappeared the day after we got here. They must be back up the hills farther. I said, "Okay." So I took off. We went up to the little ridge that was between Mount Skokomish and Mount Stone, and cut over like I wanted to do to the left along Mount Skokomish on both sides of the ridge, so I could look down one side on the Hamma Hamma side, and I looked down the Skokomish River side on the other side, and over towards Mount Cruiser and Mildred Lakes and stuff. A goat sign everywhere. I'm ready to take pictures. Tracks, poop, goat hair hanging in the bushes. I said, "Man, this is goat paradise." I looked all day and never saw a mountain goat. Couldn't believe it. So anyway, I started back down the hill, and I could look down below, and I could see those guys just throwing more stuff into the fire and stuff, and the boom box was still going. And the beer cans, I've been drinking more and more, and the beer cans were piling up. So I looked at that and I thought, this is insane. Nobody's going to believe me what I've seen up here. I said, let alone in the national park. But anyway, I got down the hill, and I had a meal with them and stuff, and I thought to myself during the night, they might ask me to help them pack some of that crap out. I don't know why I'd do that. So early in the morning, I got my gear up, but in the evening and stuff, the whole time they're drinking, partying, they were burning everything. I mean, they were burning the leftover steaks, the leftover food, loaves of bread were going into the big bonfire. I'm pretty sure they probably burned their sleeping bags in that tent. I don't know. I had left before then, the next morning. So anyway, I'm sitting there shaking my head. What the hell's going on? And then they went over to the big crate. It was a big not wooden thing, but heavy cardboard. And it's got dozens of eggs stacked in there. One of them got in there and took out the eggs, opened it up, looked around, and then pretty soon the other 3 guys ran over there and they all grabbed Carton's eggs, and everybody spread out a few yards away from each other. And I sat there and witnessed an egg fight at 5,000 feet at the Lake of the Angels. But anyway, they busted up all those eggs, throwing them at each other, and then they were throwing potatoes and loaves of bread at each other. They were very drunk. Anyway, they're still building the big bonfire, and I finally went to bed off to the side somewhere over a little ridge. They kept that fire going most of the night, just burning garbage. Well, not garbage, but real food. So I got up early the next morning and I went past them, you know, and they were all like, I think drunk or something, just laying around there. Looked pretty exhausted. And I don't know how. I thought, how are these guys going to pack, you know, whatever they got down that hill. They weren't in very good shape. But anyway, I went on down the hill. And, yeah, I really don't know how they got. There was room for a helicopter, all right, but I don't know if they landed the helicopter and the guys pushed the stuff out. I have no idea. Or whether they hoisted it down. I didn't ask them for any more details. I had no idea what they might have been doing. But I was so shocked when I found all that up there. I mean, this is a very difficult place to get to. And very, very few people would go up there. Like I said, you know, back in the 60s and 70s, we didn't have all the people we have now on the trails and things. And, I was amazed. I thought for sure, you know, I'd be the only one up there. I mean, I had the only vehicle parked there. The only tracks on the trail were mine. So anyway, that was probably one of the strangest adventures I ever had. Sure as heck, got down, there's my car. Nobody else around. Probably at 11 in the morning or something time I got down there. But anyway, it just baffled me how they, yeah, it was such a shock to get up there. And, you know, I can understand somebody packing a boom box, but to pack that tent and a coal stove and all the fuel and all the stuff they had and all the food they had and all the beer they had. What happened to all the beer cans, the metal, the stuff that won't burn, the tent poles? My guess is that somewhere up there they buried it. So I'm kind of glad you're watching these true stories, and I'll continue to put them out for you. Until then, catch you later.